Welcome to another Dead by Daylight Creation review. I feel as though, real quick, I'm going to apologize for my content that I've been putting out. Dead by Daylight Creation review, alternative reviews, etc., etc. I actually looked back and watched one of my videos that I posted and all that because I wanted to see where I left off, and the content, the deliberation, the wisdom of the game, all of that just hasn't been there. It's essentially me just hard skipping through a lot of things, not really explaining I guess it'd be technically me, what I'm looking for, but what would benefit the game. It's just kind of me going through. I mean, most of the stuff I've already seen before, yes, but that doesn't excuse the fact that I went from spending like 3 hours on one little review to spending like 15 to 30 minutes on some and just blowing them out of the water left, right, up, and center. So I'm going to try to go back to the old ways. I've only been doing this for about 2 or so weeks and I've already sort of gotten complacent. So we're going to jump in and we're going to attempt to rectify the problem before it becomes a habit. Sound check. Welcome some and just blowing them out of the water left, right, up. Sound check sounds amazing. I've also been streaming at random times because I'm also doing the Splinter Cell playthrough. I am dual streaming it to YouTube and Twitch. I did figure all of that out, so look forward to that. I think I've beaten like 4, maybe 5 out of like 13-ish levels, so it's still ongoing. I'm trying to complete every Splinter Cell game, and I'm still on the first one. Will I do them all back to back to back to back? I do not know yet. As of now, I'm still going strong, despite having a broken controller that gives me a lot of issues. At this point, it's like a kind of funny meme. But, yeah, let's get back into things. That's a face. Killer Concept, The Ancient Fear, Licensed Killer from League of Legends by Kaus 57190. This is a licensed killer, so I cannot recommend it for alternative reviews or anything like that. This has also been recently edited, so I probably already looked at this before. Name is Fiddlesticks. Its height is tall, which is interesting. Tear radius, I don't know why you would increase the tear radius, but sure. And then 4.6 meters per second. Like always, if you want to look over this long lore, go ahead and pause. I might be able to keep that in view if you want to just read that while listening. There you go. D, whatever that means. So here's the small overview of I guess his name's Fiddlesticks. Is a killer focused on using its terror to pressure and disturb survivors. Using its power, Harmless Scarecrow, it can make survivors paranoid by mimicking its terror radius and strike unwary survivors. Its perks: Invading Dead, Ancient Hook, and Demon Playground enables it to maximize the effectiveness of its terror radius while robbing survivors of opportunities to escape the trial. If it is activated by terror radius, this might go good into a doctor build as well. But we'll get there. This weapon's going to be a Scythe. I guess it does have a scythe that kind of comes out of it like that. Maybe that's a leg. I don't know. Oh no, there's the scythe. It's coming out of its butt. So the power is Harmless Scarecrow. By pressing the power button, the Ancient Fear. So if the killer's named the Ancient Fear, I'm just going to stop and take a moment here. If you want to name it the Ancient Fear, then just keep it the one name. Don't say Fiddlesticks up here, and then say alias the Ancient Fear and all of that, because, well, I mean, if you want to put, like, the name of the actual thing included into the lore, like this is fine, saying Fiddlesticks, etc., etc. But when you're coming to name it the Ancient Fear. And, yeah, because you have it here, the Ancient Fear. And then the first thing you see is Fiddlesticks. So you should say the Ancient Fear, then in the lore include Fiddlesticks. Then weapon is fine to call it Fiddlesticks' Scythe because that's his name. And it's a part of a scythe. I'm going to just stick to calling it the Ancient Fear from now on, and just to prevent any type of confusion or anything like that. But I just want to work that out because I keep seeing it being used interchangeably. Anyway, by pressing the power button, the Ancient Fear can place a Scarecrow on its location. They do have proximity, I guess proximity barriers, so they can't be placed directly to other objects. It says important objects, but can't be next to other objects. The Scarecrows emit a terror radius as if the Ancient Fear was there. So it's essentially a beacon that projects terror radius. At a reduced range of 24 meters. Any add-ons or perk that uses the terror radius also applies to the Scarecrows. I would just keep it the add-ons to increase terror radius. I would not let perks themselves add to the terror radius of the Scarecrows. Because if you have, let's say, my doctor build, and then I was able to use add-ons to increase the terror radius of the particular Scarecrow, then I was going to use perks to further increase the terror radius of the Scarecrows. I could probably get a huge bonus to the amount of terror radius a Scarecrow can do. So let's say you don't want to have like a full screen terror radius like Legion, because Legion already does that during their Feral Rush. Even Doctor doesn't have like a super huge terror radius, map-wide terror radius anymore. It is huge, but it doesn't cover the entire map. So I would have the terror radius not actually apply to Scarecrow due to the balancing and, well, add-ons overlapping and making that way too OP. Whenever a survivor approaches within 6 meters of a Scarecrow, Killer Instinct activates, alerting you. Up to 5 Scarecrows can be active at a given time. I'm going to stop you right there. So from this first paragraph, let's analyze what we would like to see. I would like to see how long it takes to put specific Scarecrow down. I would like to see a proximity limit to where you can put Scarecrows to each other. For instance, I don't think you should be able to place two scarecrows right next to each other, even though it's completely useless for the most part, except in specific circumstances, like kill shack wise. You're probably not going to be able to place a scarecrow in the middle of the pallet or in front of a window, unless you make the scarecrows ethereal where they can be walked through. But you can, however, place it at the corner and between them outside, probably, which one increases the amount of loop that a survivor has to do. They can no longer hug the corner. Also, if they're faking or doing anything like that, you'll be able to constantly see them with killer instinct. I think it's unfair to be able to place a scarecrow on both corners of the kill shack and know exactly where a survivor's going at all times. I mean, yes, it's a waste of two scarecrows. However, having that amount of vision is kind of ridiculous. Now, as that this is just the start of the power. I guarantee you the perks and everything else that directly influences Terra Radius, that also applies to the scarecrows themselves, is what's going to make this insane. This is why I'm saying this now, before I know anything about this particular power, perks, and everything else. I don't think you should be able to place totems within a decent amount of range from each other. Let's see if I'm right, and if he's balanced it for that. Or if the things are just going to stack and essentially make loops useless. Because, I mean, he could technically put a... Well, actually, no, he can't put a scarecrow in the middle of Kill Shack if there's a generator there. It'll stop placement. But if there is no generator there, anytime that a survivor is anywhere near that particular area, the killer instinct's going to pick them up anyway. So, there's also that. If there's no gen, you just place one in Shack and you can essentially see anywhere around Kill Shack where the survivor's going. So 2 is, like I said, kind of a little bit overkill. It goes 6 meters up and down in like a bubble. So if you hook anybody in the basement, you'll be able to see anybody that's downstairs, the killer instinct, etc., etc. And if you're able to place multiple of them, you can literally have the entire basement and Kill Shack monitored at all times. Which kind of gets in the way of territorial imperative, I think is what it's called. So, I mean, it'll allow you to get way too much vision at any given point. Same with like main buildings. If you can place these totems super close to each other, you can just place one in essentially each corner of a main building, unless it's like the artist's new map that's super high. And you can essentially cover that entire building with surveillance. But I also want to see scarecrows to be able to be sabotaged, destroyed. I want a time limit associated. I'd like to see, not a want, I'd like to see a time limit associated with them to how long it takes to destroy them. And I'd also like to see usability of the Scarecrow added in. Because as of now, you play Scarecrow, Scarecrow has Terra Radius. If they are going to do some sort of Scarecrows take Terra Radius from Killer and they get undetectable or something like that, I also want to see in detail how that's going to be incorporated. Those are just some of the things that I'd like to see clarified. You can have 5 scarecrows at a time. There's 7 generators. Obviously, you're going to want to put a scarecrow by each generator. If you hide it well enough where survivors can't really see it, or at least don't look for it, you can then have monitoring at every single generator. If you're gonna add something OP to a scarecrow to make it like expose or injure or something like that, a survivor, you're gonna have to have some sort of sound notification or some sound that it makes, or some sort of aura or something that it produces to alert survivors of its position. Maybe a crow lands on it, I don't know. But if you're gonna make it OP, you're gonna have to make it, balanced OP. If you want to go that route. That's it. 7 generators. 5 can technically have scarecrows on them, and you'll always know where survivors are if you can successfully hide a scarecrow within 6 meters. Obviously, in like Cold Wind Farm and things like that, where some people aren't really vigilant and don't have a high amount of perception to actually check for things, you might get away with it, trapping some gins and things like that. But I mean, in a map like Midwich, well, that's not true. You might be able to hide just scarecrows in random unused rooms and corners and just tag survivors as they're walking by. So that's not necessarily false. I don't know the distance between Midwich's top floor to bottom floor, if it'll reach to the bottom floor, but I assume so. So it has its uses. It also has its, quirks. But anyway, I think I've explained enough in this particular aspect. Let's move on. The survivors may take the time to destroy these scarecrows. Destroying a scarecrow takes 10 seconds. Actually, I think cleansing a totem takes 8 seconds, right? No. I'm gonna say 10. Look it up. Right here. Cleansing totem time. I always assumed it was 10 seconds. It takes 14 seconds. I guess it makes sense because it takes 10 seconds to bless a totem. And it'll take 14 seconds to break a totem. You want survivors to prioritize blessing over breaking. So, 14 seconds. Makes sense. So now you know. It takes 14 seconds to cleanse a totem. And it takes 10 seconds to bless a totem. Which makes a lot, it makes so much sense. So boon totems actually have more of a use. I always assumed that it was either less, because you're just straight up destroying it, instead of, drawing on it and shouting an incantation to bless it. But balance-wise and usability-wise, it makes sense to make it shorter. Because why would you boon a totem when you can just straight up walk over and just break it and continue on your life? Gotcha. So, it takes 14 seconds to destroy a scarecrow. Time to destroy scarecrow will probably have to be balanced in PTB, because you're going to have add-ons and everything else that's going to be wanting to be ran with it. So to find that ultimate balance in time and usability and all of that. It's gonna have to be PTB balanced. If I had to throw a number out there, 10 to 15 seconds seems reasonable. Crowstorm. Oof. Oof. Crowstorm. By pressing the ability button while holding the cursor on a scarecrow, the ancient fear can teleport to that scarecrow. Okay. Injuring all survivors within the scarecrow's tear radius. This cannot put survivors into dying state. When Crowstorm is being charged, the scarecrow will emit an eerie sound that can be heard by survivors. Crowstorm cannot be used on scarecrows that are in the process of being destroyed. Survivors cannot destroy scarecrows that are targeted by Crowstorm. Crowstorm has a base cooldown of 45 seconds. Crowstorm has a base activation time of 4.5 seconds. I just knew that a OP ability was going to try to be added into this tear radius, which can be increased by perks and add-ons, by the way. Essentially, you're going to put this down, this crow down, or this scarecrow down, then you're going to immediately teleport to it, even though you're looking at it, and you're going to get a free injure on all survivors in the area. The problem that you're having here is survivors run at 4 meters per second. Activation time is 4.5 seconds. So if a survivor is anywhere near the scarecrow and you use this, in 4.5 seconds a survivor is going to be 16 plus half of 4, 18 meters away. The tear radius by default is 24 meters. So even being 18 meters away, they're still 6 meters short. So if a survivor is anywhere within Killer Instinct range, it's a guaranteed hit with a 4.5 second base activation time. So any survivor essentially running towards a totem to deactivate it is going to be thwarted and immediately damaged. Guaranteed every time unless the killer is in chase. It's not good design. Even when it comes to Pinhead, doing the box and all of that, it's not a free hit. It just teleports you close and allows you to begin chase. It stuns the survivor for the animation that everything's happening, so you have a little time to materialize, but you're put at a distance. That's balancing. You guaranteeing hits off of every scarecrow that you put down. It's not good balance. You can literally walk up to a generator, place a scarecrow down, which it doesn't say how long it takes. I'm gonna assume it's fairly quick. Like you said, it's something like the Trapper, how the Trapper puts his things down. So if it's about as quick as a Trapper does that, you can just boom. If anybody goes anywhere near that generator or anywhere near that particular scarecrow, you can just teleport over to it and boom. So it's not good. As I said, if you want to add an injure effect or something like that, you're going to have to, well, one, I would make it an add-on and have it do something else by base. And two, I would make the scarecrow itself, like I said, emit some sort of noise so survivors can hear it or have an aura around it or something to make it a little bit more noticeable. Because it's kind of unfair. One, the way this is worded, the scarecrow does not get destroyed when you teleport to it. So you teleport to it, you can continue to teleport to it. You may not be able to down survivors unless you run like a Iridium add-on or something like that. But it's a guaranteed hit. And nobody likes that. Especially because the Scarecrow itself doesn't disappear. So all you have to do is, once you get Scarecrows down, is just continuously teleport from Scarecrow to Scarecrow to Scarecrow. And as soon as you get a hit notification, you know to stay at that Scarecrow and look around in the general area, because there's a survivor within 24 meters. Remember what I said about Scarecrows being put in, like kill shacks and main buildings and things like that. You can literally cordon off an entire area if a survivor runs into mid-chase or anything like that. Boom, it's an injured state. So I would just leave a Scarecrow hidden in some random corner that nobody ever checks in the map because they have no reason to go there. And then anytime somebody goes to mid building or after a gen's done or something like that, just randomly teleport the mid and bam, that's an injured state. And probably almost immediately a chase, because you're going to hear the hit happening. You're also probably going to see scratch marks or probably find blood, or a survivor's going to jump off something to reveal their location. Apologize for noise and all of that. I tried to start recording and tried to get it kind of low-key before anybody woke up. Kids are here, like always. I think I'm going on, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now without any type of decent sleep. Starting to lose my goddamn mind. But still trying to stay consistent. Even though my content is obviously wavering and I can see myself being impatient and things like that. It's coming down to not getting any sleep. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I tried to go to bed after they all went to bed and all of that. And I only ended up getting like 2, maybe 3 hours of sleep. Because after they went to bed, all the adults started getting up and doing all of their hidey-hole. And they went to bed. And by that time, I was already woken up. Then I was like, I'm going to try to lay down and go to bed again. And every time I went to bed, it was like clockwork. As soon as I'd fall asleep, somebody would get up, start walking around the house. I almost think it was like malicious at this point. This has been happening for 2 weeks now. I'd say it's malicious because nobody ever makes a sound until I'm trying to sleep or record. If I was to shut this recording off, the house would go completely quiet. Nobody would make a sound. I would restart the recording, and then boom. Instantly restart. Makes no sense. I know you can hear the bumping and jumping and all of that. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. Things are already lively. Before you ask, not my kids. It's niece and nephew. Not my kids. Not my problem. Well, to be more accurate, it's my step-niece and step-nephew. Not my kids. Not my problem. The only thing I want to do is put out content. Anyway, rant over. Back to this. Because of the activation time being so quick, like I stated earlier, you're going to essentially get free hits. You have a nurse is essentially what your killer is so far, is a nurse that has to, or a nurse and a hack mixed. With the buff that as soon as you teleport, anybody nearby instantly gets hit, as opposed to having to chase them for the first hit. So it's almost like a nurse teleport with a easy hit hack to injured state. Having a hag slash nurse that insta hits somebody if they're in a healthy state doesn't sound like a fun time. So again, one, leave the iridescent, add-ons and everything for the decreased activation time and the decreased cooldowns and the super abilities of your killer. Just keep it simple. I'm not saying that it's wrong to injure survivors and things like that, but I don't think survivors should be injured within that 24 meter range. It's just not right. Then, on top of that, Crowstorm, or never mind, survivors cannot destroy scarecrows that are targeted by Crowstorm. That would be a good balance to it, extending the base activation time quite a bit to where survivors that hear the sound can either run over to the scarecrow and find it and touch it to essentially stop the activation of the hit, but not necessarily the activation of the teleport, or they hear the sound and they have enough time if they immediately run to escape. You have to give the survivors an escape. You can't just guarantee a hit every time. So like I said, this needs to be added more seconds in. Beyond that, it's going to have to be sent to public test beta. But I mean, if you do the basic math of a survivor standing right next to it, and you needing to get 24 meters out, it's going to take minimum a survivor 6 seconds to get out of that radius if they're standing right next to it. So you're going to be looking at a balance of, I'd say, minimum 6 seconds. Then you can have add-ons and everything else decrease the value to 6, 5, 4.5, wherever you want to go from there. Alright. So, Harmless Scarecrow. You put Scarecrow down. It has tail radius, 24 meters, 6 meter killer instinct. You can place 5. Crowstorm. You can teleport to said Scarecrow, and it damages survivors that are within the tear radius. Yeah, Crowstorm is gonna be on a very thin line of getting buffed and getting nerfed. It definitely has to be PTB. Because I'm thinking about the big picture, and survivors that hear the tear radius of the Crowstorm are going to essentially know where they can go to be safe. And they're going to be able to tell the exact location by pinpointing it as well. Because if you run into the side of, if you're running and you run into a tear radius, you know that you're generally right at the end of the circle of it. The circle's 24 meters, so it's going to take you 12 seconds to run from one side to the other side. So essentially, all you have to do is run 6 seconds straight into it. Then just take that angle of the 6 seconds that you run into it, and then almost like a compass, the compasses that have the little metal piece and the pencil that you twist that shows you angles, run that angle and you'll eventually run into the Scarecrow itself. So, I mean, location-wise and placement-wise, you will be able to find the Scarecrow easy, because it's perfectly divisible. At least the general area that it's at. Because even if you're kind of crazy and you run the corner to corner, after the 6 seconds, you're going to be out of the tear radius, and you're going to know that that's the outside edge of it, and you need to turn and adjust your degrees to go straight in. So if you know angles or anything like that, you can easily find out where the Scarecrow's hidden at. So I guess making it just straight up 24 meters does make it easier to encode mathematically, but it's also going to make it a lot easier to find it. So Crowstorm's actually going to have a lot of work to be done with it. I kind of wish all of these were implemented and I could do live reviews on specific killers as they came out. But I mean, if this was a thing, I would need exclusive access to it and be essentially the only person, aka exclusive. Because if it comes out to the regular DBD community, they're going to start doing reviews on it, and you're going to have the more popular streamers, because people value their opinion more, just because they're more popular. Which, I mean, in most cases, that's just bandwagoning, and that's absolutely dumb. People think that the more popular person is always correct, especially when it comes to an argument, as opposed to the person that's actually prepared and does the research and all the other things, which is generally the less popular person. And people bandwagon and they hype the popularity, and they generally don't think for themselves. Next thing you know, we're in deep shit, because something is wrong. I am very hardcore against bandwagoning. I am very much a realist when it comes to things. I don't care if it's my best friend or a famous YouTuber that I've respected all of my life, and then versus somebody I've never met in my life and could care less about. It could be my worst enemy and a YouTuber that I've respected all of my life. It could be Albert Einstein and the person that I hate. If the person that I hate gives me more information and facts and explains things, all out to where it's 100% without any type of doubts, can't be disproven, anything like that, I'm not going to believe a goddamn word Albert Einstein says, because he could just be full of shit. It could be something he absolutely doesn't know about. Geniuses are usually geniuses in a couple of aspects, but not in everything. And that's where people get very confused about things. They're like, oh, he's a genius. You assume he knows everything. Like, no. He knows a lot about a particular subject, maybe even a couple. But if you ask him about something, everyday like that, majority of people know, he probably doesn't know that. If you ask him about a specific job, he doesn't know that. He knows what he's taught, what he's learned, what he's acquired. He was just a prodigy because he caught on fast, or he did the time, put forth the effort to succeed in the end. Again, bandwagoners don't understand that, but as I say a lot, the average person in the world is mediocre. They don't think for themselves. They're very heavily influenced by social media and things like that. And if you're sitting there like, well, I'm glad I'm not mediocre and things like that, you're probably mediocre. You're probably the person I'm talking about. because your immediate response is, well, it's a good thing, or no, I'm not, or something like that. That's going to be the average response. The average response from a person is going to be, no, I'm not like that. I'm not like everybody else. Because people who are mediocre strive and try to fight to become different. Some people embrace the mediocrity, but that in turn kind of makes them unique because they have an understanding, which is higher wisdom, that, hey, I'm boring. Hey, I'm a bandwagoner. Hey, I go with the flow. That's still higher thinking, which makes you unique. So if your first response is, immediately, no, I'm not, you're probably a bandwagoner and you go based off your emotions and you follow through what society or whatever's going on at the time, the more popular opinion. It's not a good trait to have. As you can see, popular opinions has completely changed the world. From persecutions to slavery to segregation to people's rights to everything else. Popular opinion says that this is okay, so okay, we'll roll with it. Somebody eventually says this is really not okay, guys, and we need to change this. They become popular. They then use their popularity to change things, and then it goes from there. So they become complacent, etc., etc. But anyway, I'm not going to go any farther into that lesson because that's one of the lessons I get paid for. I may, in the future, might open up my Discord for daily lessons. Just as kind of like a thank you for YouTube subscribers or something like that. But it's way, way, way in the future. And that's if I continue to do this every day. At the rate things are going in personal life versus, keeping up with content, etc., etc., it's a coin flip. I might stick through it, I might just take a break and come back later, or I might just drop it all and never look back. I don't know. But the thing is, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do. I'm not just going to get overwhelmed one day and be like, I'm done. No. I'm not going to be that mediocre person. If somebody looks at you and says, hey, you're dumb, and you immediately snap back with, no, I'm not, you either are arrogant, have a lot of confidence, or that particular person doesn't really know you and you're just kind of brushing it off. Could be an instant ego defense, something like that. I mean, it can be a lot of things. Anyway, reverse. Hex, invading dread. You know how to strike fear into survivors, you also know how to play with their fear. Survivors within your terror radius do not benefit from great skill checks. Survivor perks related to skill checks are all negated. When survivors fail a skill check, they will scream, revealing their aura for 6 seconds. Penalty for failed skill checks are increased by 200%. One, why are you making this a hex perk? Well, I mean, I know why you're making it a hex perk. It's because of every other creator out there. You want to make this OP perk, and you think that making it a hex perk just makes it okay. It's not how this works when it comes to hex or perk balancing. I do ask that when you're making perks, you refer to the Dead by Daylight. I guess it's the wiki, Dead by Daylight wiki, and look at the perks. Just type in Dbd perks. It will take you there. It's the official Dead by Daylight wiki. You can just get Control F, Control Find, and type in some keywords from your perks, like skill checks, for example. See how many skill check perks are out there, see what they do, and then try to balance your perk, around it. But also don't make it the same. Remember, take the ideas of the perks that are already there, take that idea apart, redesign, recombine, make something unique out of it. Don't just change a couple of things and say, yep, new perk. So the problem we have here is, one, you're using the term hex to make a severely overpowered, well, it's not overpowered, but it is overpowered. It's not severely overpowered, like it's not like Ruin applies the exposed status effect as well. Like it's not like super overpowered, but it is overpowered in the essence that, one, it has no types of negatives or anything like that. It has no types of cooldowns. It has no sense of balance. It's just good stacked on top of itself. And then, alright, well, since it's a super good perk, I'm going to throw a hex tag on it. And then that's going to be my balance. Like, you didn't take the time to think about all of this and let it marinate in the oven for a little bit. I said marinate in a barrel, but you know what I mean. So, survivors within your terror radius do not benefit from great skill checks. I do like the fact that it goes off of your particular terror radius and it's not map wide. That's a good start to balancing the equation. 2, you double down on that with great skill checks, no benefit. Regular skill checks, no benefit. AKA perks, perks, no benefit. So the new survivor that they released that people are going to want to play with and things like that, you're indirectly nerfing him. Granted, this killer will probably take a while to release if they do pick this concept up. But survivor perks related to skill checks are negated. There are quite a few perks that go off of skill checks nowadays. From going over them the other day, I can think of at least 2. So there's probably 2 plus. I really won't want to go down that line to go, da 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 da, but I'll let you do that on your own time. No benefit from great skill checks. If there's going to be no benefit from great skill checks, then I would suggest either getting rid of the great skill check bar and then increasing the regular skill check bar. Because this perk doesn't necessarily decrease or reduce the bar, and it doesn't trigger excess skill checks. So if we're going to get rid of the great skill checks, at least do something to the bar to benefit survivors there. That's one of the ways you can go to keep balancing this to make it better. Great skill checks don't mean anything, however, it's easier to get skill checks. They become easier. Survivor perks related to skill checks are all negated. Completely negated. Doesn't matter how many great skill checks you have, because, like I said, if the bars disappeared, you can't get them anyway. Which, indirectly, will negate skill checks. So, I mean, again, if you want to just reverse engineer this and incorporate this without directly saying it, and making this way too OP, You could have actually hidden this from me, and I probably wouldn't even picked up on it, to be honest. I do appreciate you defining that and pointing out a potential issue that it can have. It's honorable. But you could have just straight up said, great skill check bar disappears. And I would have been none the wiser to think about any perk that activates from great skill checks. Well, I can't say I wouldn't have been none the wiser. I don't think I would have thought about it, but I have been talking about the new Survivor and things like that, so I may have picked up on it. May have. So if you would have rewrote this differently, not only would this whole thing would have been shorter, you also could have incorporated this and nobody had been none the wiser. Survivors in your terror radius, the great skill check bar essentially just disappears. When survivors fail a skill check, they will scream, revealing their aura, and then the penalties increase by 200%. That is 3 things shoved into one sentence, son. They scream, which alerts the killer to where they are. Their aura seen for 6 seconds. And the penalty for a failed skill check is 200%. You are combining 3 different perks together. Well, I guess it's technically 2. But can also be incorporated into 3 different perks. So 2 or 3 perks together in just this one line. Then you're taking away survivor perks. So you have 2 plus killer perks here. You're deactivating 2 plus survivor perks here. And the caveat to this is you have to be, or they have to be in your terror radius, and that it's a hex. How does that not seem unbalanced to you? I'm just curious how your brain put all of that together, and you were like, man, that sounds good to go. It sounds balanced, it sounds fair to survivors, and it sounds useful to killers. Obviously, you can't. I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm not hard pressing you or anything. Don't get mad. Obviously, you can't have 3 different things as an activation like that. 1. If a survivor is already inside of your terror radius, because I'm going to assume that you started this whole thing with survivors within your terror radius. All of this applies to them being in your terror radius. If it's just the benefit from great skill checks is the only thing that happens when it's in your terror radius, then this whole perk needs to be reworked. If it's everything, all of these, so I guess survivors within your terror radius suffer from the following effects, or are affected with the following effects. Enter, and then list all of these to clarify this. Or, if it's just this particular line right here, you need to move this down to the bottom. And then add a space in to show that it's just this one thing's being affected. This isn't part of the perk. This is just kind of a caveat at the end. Go in, colon it in, add it in right here. So you can clarify whether or not it's in terror radius or not in terror radius. So you're either going to add it in down here, or you're going to have it its own sentence with a space, and then you're going to start listing things under it. Either or. That's how you will differentiate between that, and people actually know what you're talking about when you're talking about something. So if it goes one way, and it's just this, the great skill checks are your only benefit from a terror radius, then this is super OP. It needs to be hard nerfed. Because any time a survivor misses a skill check, on the map particular, they're going to scream and reveal their aura. It's essentially a free barbecue and chili, but it's individual wise. I would run this with my Huntress's Lullaby and easily get clappings from all over the map. New survivors are terrible at it, and experienced survivors generally hit skill checks, but I mean, if I'm approaching them and they get a skill check, you know, might get them, might run like overwhelming presence. No, it's the other one, unnerving presence. Whichever one it is, that makes you get more skill checks when then the killer gets near. Might run that too, just to up the ante on skill checks and run just skill checks after skill checks after skill checks back to back and try to get these triggers. So you need to decide in this particular thing, is it when a survivor fails a skill check they scream? That's that scream triggers the scream notification. Like anything else, you get notified as soon as they scream. That's the end of it. When they miss a skill check, are you going to get the gen pop noise and the aura reveal? But I mean, to balance this, the notification of the gen popping shouldn't be a thing. It should just be an aura reveal. Also, if it is within tear radius, this is obviously going to have to be decreased. If you're already within tear radius, 4 seconds is ridiculous. As I state all the time, the only thing you need to know is what the survivor's going to do after this activates. As soon as it happens, you just need enough time to know if they're going to run a specific direction or if they're going to stay at the gen. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know every single movement of where they're going. It's not necessary. 6 seconds is absolutely ridiculous. That's enough time that if they blow it when you're in the tear radius, that you can just walk over to where they are and you can initiate chase or get a slap, depending on when they miss that skill check. 4 seconds is a barbecue and chili activation. Barbecue and chili is cross map. It gives you the location of the survivor and essentially what they're doing. Or if they're going to immediately run for an unhook, you know, you get the direction they're moving in. That's what makes it balanced. But you're already there within tear radius. You don't need essentially a full 4 seconds. It's going to have to be PTB tested to see what a good amount of time versus everything is. Penalty for failed skill checks are increased by 200%. You could possibly, actually I don't think you can run those two because there's perks associated with both of those together. So, Also, saying penalty for failed skill checks are increased by 200%. I had, when I was kind of flustered and kind of half-brained at the moment from having lack of sleep, I think I did mention something about a generic response about saying increase penalty for failed skill checks to increase it by a flat percent so it stacks. I am changing what I'm saying if I'm saying that, because saying that penalty for failed skill checks are increased by 100, 150%, 200% is just an excuse to be lazy and not look up the actual values and not state a specific percentage. I think you should, without a doubt, say exactly how much The failed skill check is going to regress your generator in particular instances like this. Now, when it's prorated like Ruin makes sense because you're not going to say 1/4. You know, it's kind of ridiculous. It makes sense to actually, give it a percentage. Something like this, that's just a flat rate, I believe should have just a flat. Failed penalty for skill checks, the regression rates increased, I don't know, let's just say like 8%. I think it actually is like 3% by base you lose on blowing a generator. So I think it'd make it like 6% or something like that. It's like 2 or 3. It's very negligible. The thing about blowing a generator is it alerts the killer to where you're at. That's the whole thing about it. The regression's kind of just meh as it is. Well, I guess I can't say that because after you blow a generator, the generator regresses, but it also stops for a little bit amount of time too. So you're getting the regression plus the delay in a couple of seconds as well. So I mean, I guess it is significant. And when I run Huntress's Lullaby, I mean, I get a lot of time added back to the clock when it comes to new killers that don't know how to counter it. So I mean, it's not negligible, but the boom and the killer knowing that somebody's working on that generator is really the highlight of that. Ruin will take care of generator regression beyond that. So this needs to be redone, taken apart. And that was only the first perk. Then Scourge Hook, because everybody likes Scourge Hooks nowadays. They sent out Pyramid Head with the Scourge Hook, then the Artist with the Scourge Hook. And like I stated before, that's the popular opinion, so everybody's going to continue to follow suit, as opposed to take things into their own hand and make things that make sense. But let's see how well, I could be wrong, let's see how well they actually incorporated the Scourge Hook before I make any further assessment. At the start of the trial, 4 random hooks are changed to Scourge Hooks. They gain the following effects. Also, remove that line. Hook progress is slowed by why would you ever want to slow hook progress by 70, 60, or 50%? Any survivor perks that activate when a survivor is hooked, unhooking another survivor, or a survivor is unhooked will not activate. By how this is defined, any perks that activate when a survivor is hooked, Kindred, Deliverance, the ability to pull yourself off of the hook, and things like that will not activate. Unhooking another survivor, Borrowed Time. Technically, Desperate Measures isn't worked upon a particular survivor. It's by injured amount, so it won't be affected at all. And then a survivor is unhooked, which unhooking a survivor is unhooked, so the breakdown that destroys hooks, that perk won't activate. Any killer perks that activate when hooking a survivor will not activate. Then ancient hooks cannot be sabotaged. Well, I mean, obviously, and by ancient hooks, I'm assuming you mean basement hooks. Unless ancient hooks by your book is scourge hooks, then I don't know about that one, Chief. But keep in mind that slowing hook progress by 50% is adding an extra minute worth of time to survivors to unhook. It is 30 seconds additive per hook phase. Takes a minute for each hook phase. 50% 2 minutes, 1 minute. So you're giving survivors 3 whole minutes to save a particular survivor. I'm just going to throw that out there. In 3 minutes, generators are going to be done. It only takes 160 seconds to, 160 seconds and some change to finish generators. So let's say 200 seconds. That gives you 160 seconds and then 40 seconds to run around, find another generator, start on it. Somebody initiates chase, yada yada yada, maybe go for an unhook, etc., etc. If it's available. So, you hook a survivor. The other survivors completely ignore it, because, if you use this, you can't camp with this perk. This is extremely, extremely terrible to camp with. So you're going to hook a survivor there. They're going to have essentially unlimited hang time, and you're going to go after another survivor. The other survivors, you're giving them a lot of extra time to finish the generators that they're working on, and then they're going to be able to go for an unhook. It doesn't behoove you in any type of way to camp hook, because you're going to be stuck moving. And if you hook a survivor, then you chase another survivor, and let's say you down that survivor. You have 3 minutes on one survivor before he needs to get saved, so they have all the time in the world to save him. Then the first survivor that you have hook's probably still going to have a decent amount of change on their actual hooking time. This taking up a particular hook, and then you have to find a scourge hook and all of that, so I can understand why you're saying that scourge hooks can't be sabotaged. So by ancient, you mean scourge. This perk's not good in an aspect because of the hook progress being slowed by that significant amount. Because if you try to camp the hook, they're just going to do gens, and they have, let's say, 3 minutes from the time hook to get that person off the hook. If you try to camp with it, 3 gens are going to be popped. The other 2 are going to be getting worked on. The other person's going to have essentially 24 minus 80, 160 seconds to pull that person from hook. Now, they're not going to have borrowed time or anything like that, but all it takes is a mere switch. I pull my friend off the hook, and then I let you down me, and then hook me instead. And I now have an entire 3 minutes to get off hook. And that person can run away, get away, whatever. Or we just bash out generators real quick, especially if they have toolboxes or anything that'll speed that up. Then all 3 survivors go save the person, take hits, to get that person away. You're really, really hurting yourself on this. I like the aspect that it blocks all perks from activating. But running this perks gets rid of so many perks that is so good that can be ran with it, that it makes this perk just very subpar. I can't run this particular perk with make your choice. So I can't let him get the unhook early to decrease that by a minute and 30 seconds. You just make your choice to down another survivor, hook him, then go after another one. I can't use this with Devour of Hope to give me extra time to, get away and run away and chase other survivors so they go ahead and get the guaranteed me being far away save. And there's a lot of perks that activate hook-wise. Because that counts to, he said, any type of perks that are based off hook. So that includes, the speed perks, the obsession perks, or the artist's perks. I mean, there's a lot of survivors that get, or survivors, killers. Well, there's a lot of survivors too. A lot of survivors and killers perks that you would be deactivating by running this particular perk. And you're not getting any benefit out of it. By using this perk, you are effectively extending their hook time by a minute. And the only thing you're really deactivating them from using is, well, borrowed time. Because not a lot of people run breakout anymore. Or not breakout. Whatever that perk's called that allows you to break hooks. I said it earlier. Did I call it breakout? If I did call it breakout, it's not breakout. It's called something else. It prevents that from happening, but I mean, losing one hook for 3 minutes isn't really that detrimental unless you're hooking the same guy and he keeps breaking hooks in the same area. Then you're kind of doing it to yourself. Borrowed time is just 8 seconds of protection. If you're smart enough not to hit the survivor and wait 8 seconds and then swing, you can down somebody with borrowed time easily. I would rather just wait the 8 seconds out than to give them an extra, essentially, minute on the hook. It's just not a good trade-off. It's really not. You're taking out so many perks. I can't think of a build where I'd even fathom using this. Except for like a meta build, like Haunted Ground, Hex Undying, and Ruin. And then throw in this perk in. But I mean, there's other perks that, are more important that you can use as opposed to just throwing this in here and essentially screwing yourself. Yeah, I'm sorry. It doesn't make the cut. It needs to be removed, and all of this needs to be redone. Completely and utterly redone. It's so weak. Oh, yeah. Demon's Playground. Whenever you down a survivor with a basic attack, gain 1 token. Before I even read any more, this perk's gonna say something about either gaining some sort of speed temporarily or some sort of ability to either break pallets instantly or break pallets faster, and then it may possibly go into some weird sort of ability to activate some sort of status effect on a survivor. Let's see where we're at. Whenever you down a survivor with a basic attack, gain 1 token. Each token increases your base speed and action speed. Movement and action speed, there you go. Pallet break, generator kick, hooks, things like that. Lose a token whenever a generator is completed, and it can be stackable up to 4 times, making it 20%. Problem. Already, you incorporated movement speed and action speed into one thing. A 20% extra movement speed on a killer permanently until a generator is completed. If you keep downing survivors, which generally is not that hard. If you would have said each unique survivor or each individual survivor on their first down, I could have possibly rolled with you and made a couple of tweaks, but it says whenever you down a survivor. Only thing I have to do is slap a survivor down, wait for them to pick him up, or hook him, camp hook. Soon as they pull him down, slap him down again. Soon as they pick him up, slap him down again, etc., etc., or slap his friend and just go through and tunnel a survivor till I get that 20%. It says you lose a token whenever a generator is completed. However, it doesn't say that max totems decrease. So if a generator gets complete, all you have to do is just down another survivor and you're back up to 20%. So you can essentially keep this 20% all the way till the end game, to where you'll have 16%. Or not 16%, 15% until you down another survivor. NOAD gives you what, a 4% increase in speed on top of that. It's either 4 or 5, I think it's 4. But to make things easy, I'm going to say it's a 5 and just say that's going to be a 25% increase of speed. It's 1/4 faster. But at a 20%, that's a 5th, 4.6. I don't know, let's see. 20% of 4.6 is equal to 0.92. 0.92 plus 4.6 is equal to, you're going to be moving at 5.5 movement speed for the majority of the match. Wraith, with all of his boosts and all of that, I think moves at like 6.4. And that's completely, boosted. Running killers, things like that, essentially move a little bit faster. I think Legion's speed's somewhere around 5.5. Legion's Fury speed. Bum 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 bum. Dbd. 60 centimeters a second. What? Legion, where you be at, Legion? Seems to be 5.2. Yeah, Oh, the game adds a modifier of 60 meters per second, the Legion's base speed, instead of redefining their base movement speed, as most of the other powers would do. I see. That's not the answer I was looking for, Mr. Legion. I think Legion, though, is essentially, if you do all the math, it comes out to 5.5 speed. If you go distance to everything and you add everything together. I sat down and did all the math to find out, the usability versus time versus all of that. Wraith should be towards the top. 6.5. Not 6.9, that's right, 69. So 6 meters per second when he's cloaked, and 6.9 that little boost in speed that he gets uncloaked. 150% movement speed Wraith gets while cloaking, while he's buffed with this speed, and sorry about the sound. But when he's cloaked and walking and unable to attack, he's moving at 6 meters per second. You're going to incorporate your speed up to, what did I say, 5.5 or something like that? Somewhere around 6. I can't think that hard because there's excess noise going on in the background. But what I'm trying to get at, let's try this for a third time, maybe somebody won't interrupt this time. Wraith Cloak is running at 6 meters per second. You're effectively running at somewhere around 5. And you're still able to attack, use your power, etc., etc. Which makes this particular perk way too OP. And it's stackable, so this 20% can be further increased by, like, I think it's called play with your food, maybe, and things like that, and other speed buffs, and you can keep increasing speed, keep increasing speed, keep increasing speed. Imagine a Wraith cloaked with a 20% increase in that cloak speed. That's essentially what, like 1.5 added, he would have like 7.5 speed. Somewhere around there. Ridiculous amounts of speed. Your killer has essentially almost the amount of speed of Wraith Cloaked, but can still do all actions uninhibited. This is why you don't change base speed and action speed. You don't add them both together. You keep them separate. Increasing base speed by a little bit is generally fine. But if you want to, and then action speed being increased by like 10%, 12%, whatever, 20%, whatever you want to go, it's completely fine. However, there are perks that already do this. And a lot of people, like I said, it's very popular to have a perk like this. Lots and lots and lots of people's creations that I review have a similar perk to this method. And every time I point out the differences in perks and things like that, and all the other different perks that stack up to this, and the perks that are exactly the same with this, again, I invite you to go to just type in Dbd perks in Google, go to the website, and browse some of the perks. Just hit Control F if you're on Windows, pull up your search function, and just search for, action speed, and then search for movement speed and things like that, and look at the different perks that contain both of them or one of the other. Take this perk apart, redefine it, rework it, completely change it to something else, and then incorporate it into a unique perk. Maybe even add in a kicker. But as we sit now, these last two, can't be incorporated because this one's too weak and kind of too convoluted. This one is just a combination of perks. And this perk right here needs to be reworked. It's got too much into it. Dilute the pool. It looks like this is a work in progress, and it's still been worked on and worked on and worked on. I kinda wish I had an assistant that'll just follow me when I do reviews, come in here and be like, oh, it's so and so and so and so time in Qstream, you know. Stop on by, and, you know, he did a complete review on your thing, so I don't have to come down and comment and all of that. Because he's never going to know what I say about this particular concept unless it's an alternative review or if I essentially advertise. The reason why I go over concepts is because I want to push my own idea of the alternative killers. That's the main goal. But I can't advertise my YouTube channel in every post or I'll get kicked from the forum. It's against the rules. So those of you who actually, you know, watch the videos and enjoy them, I'm glad that you still stop by, but unfortunately I can't advertise myself in every post. I made a post saying that I'm going to be doing creation reviews. If anybody sees it, you know, cool. I can keep refreshing that post and hopefully people will pop up and, you know, say, hey, I thought about just listing all of the concept and things that I went over, just copying and pasting them into that particular forum. However, that's going to bring more attention to that original post, and it's just going to get the post deleted. Again, it's advertisement, which isn't allowed by forum rules. There's only special spot for that. So, I mean, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to alert them that I'm doing anything, and I don't want to go over a lengthy 2-hour thing and then leave a small little comment because I'm kind of burnt out on it. Anyway, Chaos, or Chance, 57190, very good concept. Unfortunately, it's licensed from League of Legends, so it can't be added into any type of alternative killer, which a lot of people are making their own different concepts and they're incorporating their own different chapters. So, still, haven't been able to find, you know, a very unique, well-polished concept to add to the alternative killers. I am very satisfied with the ones I've added thus far, and I don't want to dilute the pool with something that isn't meant to be an alternative to anything. So I will leave that there. I definitely gotta do a sound check because this is so loud. I can't even hear myself think. Center. So I'm gonna try to go back to the old ways. Still, haven't been able to find, you know. However, there are perks that already do this. And a lot of people, like I said, it's very popular to have a perk like one this. Moment. Is because I want to push my own idea of the alternative killers. That's the main goal. Yep. But I can't. I can hear them in the background. Still, haven't been able to. I'm just going to take a moment and throw out there. I don't hate kids. I was raised essentially in a daycare. My aunt, she ran her own daycare. I used to help her take care of the kids there. You know, I was around kids a lot in my life. When I went over to friends' houses and things like that with my brother, I would generally play with the younger kid, who in most times were younger than I was. Male, female, either or. I usually played with the younger sibling while my brother played with the older one. So I do generally like kids. What I don't like is undisciplined kids. If you're letting your kid run around being unnecessarily loud, especially indoors, breaking things, running around, acting like they're absolutely just dumb. Because there's healthy acting as a kid, you know, going out, doing things, you know, etc., etc. You know, things like that. That's fine. Kids are going to be kids at the end of the day. However, if you have an undisciplined kid, that's where the issues come through. I do not like undisciplined kids. That's what they are. Do not like undisciplined children. Discipline your children. Teach them how to properly act. You don't have to do any type of spanking or anything like that. You just need to educate them. Do not leave them on YouTube all day. Do not let them sit on a tablet or anything like that all day. Don't let them go online and be toxic to other people until they have a brain of their own and they're of age. Because that does wear off in real life, because they don't really tell the difference between the two unless, they're cowards by nature. Then they kind of figure out, hey, I can't say that to other people, they'll hurt me. And you run across it all the time. Online, in real life, things like that. Discipline your children. Stop ignoring them. Stop going on Facebook. Stop doing stop watching TV. If children are at your house for you to watch them, actually watch them. You're inside, teach them inside voices. Teach them how to properly play inside. You need to set these distinctions now, because guess what? Especially when they're young, because guess what? When they start to grow up, and nowadays when they're not in school, when they go back to school, or if they go to somebody else's house that lives in an apartment or something like that, it's going to create issues. When you take your child out into public, it's going to create issues. When you have those kids throwing tantrums and everything like that because they get away with everything at home, and the parent just pseudo expects them to know, don't act up in public. They don't understand that. And you're embarrassed and people are looking at you and shaking your head and all of that. It stems from this. Teachers are not your babysitters. Teachers are not there to distill morals and values and all of that upon your children. Except for when it comes to sex ed, because most parents fail at giving that. Schools do too, but at least they try. It's the parents. The parents. The parents. Anybody that watches said children, who you entrust your children to, that are not teachers. Teachers are paid workers. They work like anything else. A person who, let's say, work at Amazon or UPS or FedEx, who delivers packages. The package is essentially your child. You see how they be dogging them packages, how they really don't care about them. They're replaceable. That's how children are to teachers. Yes, they have the passion and all of that, which I mean delivery drivers that pay good and things like that and are treated well, like teachers that are treated well, have passion for their job. They tend to take, the correct routes and do things like that. But teachers are underpaid, and now they're stuck with your undisciplined children in their classroom. Generally, teachers are outstaffed. They'll try to shove, like 30 children in with one teacher, when a teacher shouldn't have more than 10 children. It's like 10 to 12 or something like that. You can push it up to 15, but you're really pushing that line. If teachers are widely available, I would agree that it should be one teacher to 5 students, so each student can get, proper lessons taught to them. But nowadays, it's all done digitally because of COVID and things like that. Some schools are open, some people are going back to school, but I mean, computerized learning is becoming a thing. A teacher will go through teaching their lessons to their children, not really caring if they pass or not, especially the bad ones that are undisciplined. They'll just send them to summer school. It's a computerized lesson to where that student can just sit on there, go through all the modules, and then immediately catch back up. If you have bad children that don't want to behave, don't push them upon somebody else. It's not the teacher's job to teach your children. They are there to teach. It's in their title, teach. That's it. They teach the fundamentals of learning, not any type of psychology, not any type of morals, values, etc., etc. That's set by parents. Your children don't behave, put them on computerized learning, sit down with them every day, because you're going to have to, or they're just going to play Fortnite or whatever else. And they aren't going to do their homework and all of that, or they're going to half-butt it. And they're going to score low, get D's and C's, the barely passing that most children do, that don't have a very healthy and exciting learning environment. Just request all the classes digitally on the computer. Keep your child at home. Send it through that way. If you don't want to raise your children, keep them at home. And if you want to use the bullshit excuse, well, I gotta work, or anything like that, then guess what? You weren't ready to have a child. It's your fault. Deal with the consequences of your actions. It's that simple. That's why they tell you to plan ahead. Plan for your children. Do not have an oopsie. Oopsies still happen. You can be on birth control and using condoms, and you can still end up having a child. At least you tried to be preventative. There's all kinds of other ways to help you and things like that. There's a lot of programs for people like that, for the oopsies that actually do happen. But the idiots that just hop into it and end up having children and really giving the children a very crappy life, those particular people are using those benefits that really aren't made for them. That's the thing about America. There's really not consequences for stupid and unplanned actions, but there are consequences for dumb crimes. You get caught with a little marijuana on you, you're going to jail. You're going to spend some time in jail, and if you're lucky, you can get bailed out. If not, you're probably going to be sitting in jail for like a week or two, and then you're going to give you probation, and you're going to have to pay probation. It's all about capitalism, our particular prison system. They don't try to rehabilitate you. They don't try to make you a better person. They don't try to educate you. They don't try to make you healthy. They don't try anything. They sit you there. They let you stew. They don't teach you right from wrong, because some people really don't know. They had shitty ass parents, and they really didn't know what they did was wrong. And they go out and they become a repeat offender, and they go back in. And they go out and they go back in. States don't care. They're making money off of it. Yeah, let this idiot keep bouncing in and out. We're getting money every single time. We're going to keep our prisons as full as possible. We're going to wait till the absolute last second. Excuse me. To release prisons on the day that we have to release them, and we're going to get maximum amount of money. It's all capitalism. Prisons, jails, all of that the laws for those need to be rewrote. They need to be reflushed out, redone. The entire judicial system needs to be redone and reflushed out. It's apparent today that there's lots of problems. The thing is, most people don't have to deal with the, prison system and jail system, so they don't see how bullshit things are. Most people don't have to deal with the mental health system, so they don't understand or see how bullshit things are. Only thing they do is they see somebody who's mentally disturbed and they're like, well, just seek help. Well, 9 times out of 10, that person's has already sought help multiple times. And everybody, more importantly in America, ignores them. Or they egg it on. Hey guys, I'm feeling depressed. Immediately somebody will say, well, just kill yourself then. And they'll 100% mean it. You would think that they're joking and all of that, but, racism, mental health, suicide, cancer, all of the issues are becoming memes and jokes nowadays. Everything that's serious has been laughed off, and people are becoming desensitized about actually serious issues, and that's a problem. Nobody understands that, hey, what you just said is really fucked up. You just told somebody that's depressed and who could possibly actually do it to actually do it. And they actually mean it most times. They're like, oh, well, if it happens, it happens. Oh, well. That's the thing nowadays. Then, when it actually happens and the cops come knocking on your door and you say, come with us, you're going to jail for assisting in suicide. And then you want to be upset. No, I don't understand why I'm in trouble. He's the one that killed himself. It's his fault. It's like, yeah, but he looked at you for help and you told him to. You egged him on. So now you're partially responsible for it. Instead of helping a person out, you let a person die. And people nowadays will sit in prison, get jail time, for it, and be like, well, that's bullshit. I'm here in prison for no reason. And they'll never have any type of remorse. Because it's, nowadays, society-wise, it's, people joke about serious issues. They don't take things serious. Everybody's always insulting or trying to get a one-up on people, especially when it comes to the internet. The internet's that times 100. In person, it's backhanded comments, throwing people under the bus, an insult here or there, you talk behind somebody's back. On the internet, people just all out shoot all the shots that they have. Bang, 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 bang. And then they immediately walk away or leave wherever they are once they've spoken their mind. Because people can say a lot of things, but people can't take things being said to them. The internet nowadays is just an anger outlet. You find some random person you don't know, you insult the crap out of them, and then you go about your day. You feel great, even though that person might not feel that great, might feel like crap. Cyberbullying is a crime, by the way. If somebody does go and hurt themselves, you're going to be directly responsible for that, and you're going to go to jail regardless of what state you're in. You're going to be hit with a hefty lawsuit. And that's probably going to be the end of a lot of happiness in your life for the time being. There are a few particular people that need to be very careful about what they say to people. They do, under most circumstances, if a person's already down, he doesn't typically kick them. Sometimes, some people will get it, but most, if you can legitimately see that the person's hurting, they won't go that far. Because, for some people, it's just a game. That's all they get on the internet for, is just to talk crap. They have crappy lives, or they have boring lives. COVID's taking things over. They have stress. They just want to relieve stress. So they find the first person they can. They insult them. They go about their day feeling better. Stress outlet should not be other people. There should be other things that you can do. I've reviewed Gluttony recently. I'm going to see if anything... Well, I just read this. Didn't put much thought into what kind of killer would come with this perk, but I'd imagine it'd be some type of junk / tech scavenger / hoarder character. So here, but this was fun to come up with, so I'm satisfied. If there's anything that looks scuffed from a proofreading standpoint, feel free to point it out. So, before I even go over this, it's not meant to... It's just basically something that popped into this individual's mind, and they said, boom. There's another killer concept that I did that was Gluttony, but this is just the same killer named the same as that, and I'm assuming that it's different. and not just an update from another killer. Apparently, this killer gets power from tools of your enemies. Already from the start, if you're getting energy from tools of the survivors, if none of the survivors are running any type of tools, your killer is already essentially weak. I'm not gonna say useless, because if you thought about this even in the slightest, you should have a backup for if nobody has any types of tools or anything like that. But we'll see. Whenever a survivor holding an item is hooked, item becomes tainted. Now, a survivor that is possession of a tainted item will cause the survivor to automatically drop their item. How's about I just run Franklin's Demise? Items on the ground or in an open chest can be siphoned to gain an extra common rarity add-on selected at random from the killer's pool of available add-ons, and upgraded in rarity with further siphons up to uncommon, rare, very rare. So you're essentially eating the add-ons off of an item and becoming stronger. Siphoning a tainted item will progress the add-on one rarity level. Siphoning a non-tainted item will upgrade the add-on by half a rarity level. What is half a rarity level? A survivor that drops an item deliberately will trigger a loud noise notification. Items can only be siphoned once. Add-ons cannot be duplicates of already equipped add-ons. Oof. Temporary items or items related to killer powers such as flashbang and vaccines are not valid siphoning targets. Well, I mean, flashbangs and vaccines don't have add-ons anyway, so, I mean, they're not valid anyway. So, as we read now, just here, this particular power take survivors' items and they upgrade based off of whatever's there. If you want to make something that's usable in every game, I would suggest, Jesus Christ, just stop and listen. Keep in mind that the sound you're hearing is 2 fairly big rooms away. Walls in between them. All of that noise that you just heard. That's how loud they are. Can you hear this? Rooms away. That's how loud they are. Absolutely ridiculous. I do not like undisciplined children. There's no reason to be that loud. You're literally just screaming just to scream at that point. They're not saying anything. They're not even talking to really anybody. And they're standing literally, okay. They are literally standing as close to each other that they can reach out their arms and touch each other. That's how close they are. And they're screaming that loud. Need to learn inside voices. Need to learn some sort of discipline. It's ridiculous. Now, as I was trying to state before, if you want to make this killer's power usable in every match, you should make it somehow for him to be able to open up chests. It'll probably just be the default killer stomping motion or something like that. Once chests are open, then he should be able to pick up said item, siphon the add-ons from item, and then sit item back in chest. Or taint particular items in chest. Possibly even closing chest back. Survivor then, if they do elect to open up said chest, which goes very good with the twins' perk, Survivor then goes, picks up item in chest, gets tainted item. Survivor goes down with tainted item. Survivor automatically drops item. Something along that particular pool. That's just a suggestion that you can use. There's other ways to incorporate said idea. Not gonna harp on it long because I can't even hear myself think. And like I said, I am 2 rooms away on the complete opposite side. And I can still hear them loud enough to where I can't really think. Let's see. Placing this at the top after thinking of it later to the rest of the post, think of this perk as add-on gun game. You don't get to choose which add-ons you get. You simply get to choose the rarity and effectively reroll it up until very rare tier. I mean, yes, I suppose. And if it's random add-ons, not per killer, they're not per this particular killer, it's just random in general, I would probably, instead of making it gluttony, make it like a slime, maybe? Well, I guess slimes technically could have gluttony. But they essentially eat everything, right? No, I mean, I guess gluttony's fine, even though you're not necessarily eating things and making them go bye-bye. Except for the add-ons. That's, Is it particular killer, or is it... No, it says related to killer powers. I think I'm assuming that it's going to work for just like a random, because he says gun game. I think I'm assuming that it's going to be through random killers. Because it won't make sense if you get, like, you know, a hatchet add-on to make you get or reload hatchets faster because you don't have hatchets to begin with. So I'm going to assume that this particular killer is just going to have a lot of add-ons that it can randomly be chosen from. And that's going to be the particular power. If you manage to find something good in a chest, or you upgrade yourself enough, you can eventually get to an iridescent add-on that's going to be absolutely ridiculous. However, doing things this way, you're going to have to make the iridescent add-on that you can equip, that you earn from the blood web. You're going to have to make it not be able to absorb, and it's going to have to be a completely different ability once you absorb up to iridescent. So this also needs an end game. Once you get, you know, the top add-ons that you want, it's going to need an end game lock to where once it goes up, you can't go necessarily back down, because that's going to suck to have iridescent, pick up an item or something like that just because you want to take the add-ons off of it from the survivor and then go back down to brown. I'm going to assume once you go up a rarity level and upgrade, it becomes locked and doesn't go back down. If it doesn't, then I would definitely incorporate either an add-on that adds that or incorporate it into the regular killer's power. Dead by Daylight as it is, people still try to play it competitively, even though I don't consider it a highly competitive game. A lot of other people do. Somebody running a competitive game, aka the higher ranked players, probably aren't going to want to run this killer except for when they want an essential, random hard mode run. But let's continue on. So first off, yes, the bad meme add-ons are included in the pool. Okay. So, it's all killers. Gotcha. That means you could get unlucky and get placebo tablet into adrenaline vial as blight. That's the risk you take on certain killers for wanting a third add-on to play with. This is a perk that could absolutely hurt you under the wrong circumstances come in clutch, and the right circumstances are basically nothing for you for neutral circumstances. Or on killers that don't have a lot of good add-ons, and I think that adds to its charm. So, you can get... Is Adrenaline Vial an add-on first? Hang on. Adrenaline Vial add-on light. Yes. Wouldn't it be Adrenal Vial? No, it'd be Adrenaline Vial. Never mind. So my question is if you get the Adrenaline Vial add-on, do you essentially get that killer's associated perk? Because, I mean, this killer could go, could actually get somewhere if the associated add-on you get can essentially pull a killer power as well. If not, and it's just random, this power is absolutely garbage because most killers have things that, increase blink speed or grants extra blink. Well, if you can't blink to begin with, it's useless. And all of the other killer perks that are associated with their power then becomes useless. But if you get the essentially the perk that's incorporated with the add-on, then okay. I could see that coming in clutch in some circumstances, because you're literally at the beginning of the game just going to go around and check chests till you find power that you like. One of the problems you're going to come into is paid content versus free or unlockable content. So contractual content versus unlockable content. You are unfortunately still going to be locked off of any of the content that you couldn't afford before. So you're still going to only be able to cycle between the couple of killers that you own. That's just kind of how the game is, and it's going to be gatekeep that way, so people can't just essentially game break until they get a power of the killer that they like and then run with it. So I mean, if you don't have all the killers unlocked, or at least killers that you like, this particular killer is not going to be that fun to you. But also, you can metagame this killer by only unlocking particular killers that you use, and not having all of them unlocked. So if you like, like Plague, for instance, if you really want to pull a Plague during the match, but after everybody's broken, and unable to heal, by the way, because it's Plague, you don't want to keep that power after throwing up on everybody. They're stuck being broken, and nothing else can really do anything. So you go to Plague, then you switch off of that power, and let's say you get, I don't know, like Legion's power or something, or Nemesis's power or something that goes on top of it. Well, no, because the thing is you're only going to be able to run one power at a time. So if one add-on, you're going to have to limit the amount of add-ons that this particular killer can have. You can only run one because you can only run one perk. Because if you get, let's say, Plague, you can't re-heal from Broken status effect, then let's say you get Pig next, and then you put a trap on them. They can't get the trap off of themselves. So you can only get one perk, and then the respective things that are associated with said perk are going to have to spawn into the match. So that's going to be a very interesting thing if the game doesn't crash from all of these different spawns and everything, and the amount of programming to actually balance all of this, because there's going to have to be hard set limits and a whole bunch of other things. Very good idea to add in a random killer, but to incorporate this random killer, they're going to have to write so many scripts, programs, and things of that nature, and then balance it, and then play test it, and then balance it and play test it to iron out all the glitches. You would completely rewrite the game and how it's going to run. Now, if this particular perk goes the opposite way, is this even a perk? I keep calling it a perk. Yes, it is a perk. And if this particular perk only upgrades or changes your particular add-on for the killer that you're using, which this seems more logical, and this is how I think this perk is supposed to be implemented, even though it sounds the other way. That could be interesting, yet terrifying at the same time. Because you either have the fact of when you're playing the killer, you can just keep rolling and hoping for the best by getting more and more items, or you can just upgrade slowly and get to where you need to go. This becomes extremely strong on, let's say, Michael Myers, for example. If you hit tier 2 and then you roll and you get like Judas Tombstone, and you're already in tier 2, all you have to do is finish your tier 2 bar to tier 3, and then bam, you're golden. You're not going to necessarily have the unlimited tier 3 effect or anything like that, because you never know what add-ons that might slide back in. Also, there's going to have to be some sort of hard code that prevents Judas Tombstone and, let's say, Scratch Mirror showing up at the same time. Because Scratch Mirror allows you to not be able to tier up. And if you're already tiered up and you have Scratch Mirror, then will Scratch Mirror just deactivate and not work? It's going to have to hard code into that, or the game might just completely blow itself up and crash. So safety limits are going to have to be implemented. If you're in tier 3 Michael Myers and you pick up an item and then something happens, like what's going to happen, you know? You really don't have control of that, and the game's going to crash a lot if the fail safes aren't put in. But let's keep running it. The tainted system allowed with the loud noise notification drop is something that came up with the both guarantee a way for the perk to work reliably without Franklin's demise. Well, if you want to get rid of Franklin's demise, the more efficient way would be to just allow this killer to access chests. Because if not, like I said, if survivors don't bring in any type of items, you're kind of screwed. Or if they bring in a low amount of items, you then have to switch off said perk. The only saving grace for this particular thing is you can see what items survivors are bringing in the trial, and as long as they don't change that core aspect, you can't get completely hosed. I mean, eventually, survivors are going to get smart about people running the killer, and they're going to be hard changing into things at the beginning of matches. If the killer is against this particular killer, everybody's going to have nice items and everything like that. As soon as the countdown's about to begin, they're going to switch to a character with nothing. And your perk slot that you use is efficient, is going to be useless. It's going to be essentially useless. It's not going to work, it's not going to do anything, and they're going to run you ragged because you only have 3 other perks to choose from. God help you if you're running the Twins chest perk on top of that, then you just got hit for 2. Oof. Or any other perk that involves items. Oof. It provides an interesting choice. You can either run Franklin's Demise with Gluttony to guaranteed quick and easy item drops, or you can run it alone to get more value out of individual items at a slower pace. This also provides a variety of choices to survivors, as running around with a tainted item or getting those items tainted in the first place might not be the best idea depending on the killer. So what this perk roundabout says that it's actually doing is, when you knock an item out of a survivor's hand, you can just taint the item and then basically dare the survivor to carry said item. If they dare to pick the item back up, you have a sort of retaliation against them that you can use. So it kind of frowns on them picking their item back up. Franklin's Demise can either eat the item, or the item remains inactive during the trial. Generally, if somebody's running Franklin's Demise, nowadays they're trying to get rid of super buff flashlights. Jesus Christ, they're screaming again. They're generally trying to get rid of super buff flashlights. It used to be keys. You'd make them drop the key, you would zone the key would vanish, Poof. It's gone. Now it's essentially just flashlights. Somebody wants to excessively flashlight you or try something crazy, you slap them, you take them down, you hook them, the flashlight disappears into the oblivion. If you zone and, finish things correctly. Gone. Gone and done. With that theme of choice, it's necessary to reiterate that how bad or good this perk is depends on the player's decision of how best to use it, and a little bit of luck. I don't agree with that. One, even to perk up the RNG is going to really tilt some Dead by Daylight players, because some people just have naturally bad luck. And they ain't ever gonna get a good roll, and it's going to destroy them from the inside out. But the strength of this perk all depends on how you want to, or how it's incorporated. One way, you'll have to rewrite a whole bunch of different things, but you can use any type of add-on essentially for killer, but it'll leave you with a lot of dead spots. You'll be able to use different powers, but you'll only have one add-on slot. It's kind of a toss-up between, which killer you're going to get items. The other way, you can only get an add-on per the particular killer that you're using. So, it's going to be... It's not good, but it's also... It's not bad in some circumstances. If you run your main killer all the time, you have, you know, purple add-ons and pink add-ons and green add-ons. Like, you have a lot of them. Because if you're like a killer main or survivor main, whatever, you're always running games. You're always getting blood web points. You're always spending them. You're always accumulating things. And you essentially never run out. Unless you're like me, you wait till you've played the game all the way till 2021 and then say, I think I'm going to prestige my Nea, finally, instead of doing it at the beginning. And losing a lot of content, a lot of items and things like that, a lot of perks. But it is what it is. But anybody playing the game for a while are going to have a stockpile of add-ons to run. Anybody that wants to play this particular killer, or not killer, particular perk, I keep saying particular killer, wants to use this particular perk, has to either be new at the game and don't really, you know, have a lot of add-ons. So you're going to run it as you're trying out a new killer, so you can try out a whole bunch of different add-ons, etc., etc. It's good for testing. It's good for utility, but it's not good in actuality. And the thing is this person took the time to write this huge paragraph and explain, you know, how good and how it can be implemented and things like that, but spending all of this time thinking about how good and implications and all of that, they didn't think about the negatives that could come from this. If I'm running this and I'm running a main on my main killer, well, like, I have add-ons. I have lots of add-ons for my main that I can just throw in there and use every time. If it's a new killer I just bought, yeah, I might throw this in there just for kind of like a meme thing or two, just to see, you know, if the other add-ons, things like that, are more important, or if it's public test beta wise, you know, and I don't feel like throwing in blood points, use it for utility. If you're not using it for utility, or if you're new, you know, to this particular killer, then what are you doing? Why are you running this on a killer when you can just add in the add-on that you want to use? And like, everything that's said here, and all of the thing, like for instance here, just think about how would upgrading and getting a scratch mirror when you're already tier 2 or tier 3. Sounds like a buggy mess waiting to happen. Things like that, and the coding and everything else, and that they would have to add in for this particular perk when you could just, or perk, yeah, for this particular perk and add-ons and all of this when you can just pick the add-on that you want. So this entire thing, this entire huge paragraph can be debunked by saying, well, why don't I just play my main and pick whatever add-ons I want and not have to worry about it? That entire paragraph I just read is debunked that quickly. I don't need any type of informative, I don't need any type of evidence, I don't need any type of everything, because it's all apparent by how it's wrote here. These are one of the rare situations that you can literally just say, you can just really point out one particular flaw and the entire castle comes falling down on itself. I appreciate the time and you starting a concept of like a random add-on, but I think it's more driven if it could just pull up random killer perks, or not perks. I mean, random perks would be cool too if you could like change between perks, like random perks or random killer powers, for example. So I mean, if you're hillbilly and you land on like a stealth ability of like Ghostface or something like that, holy heck. Or you go from stealth ability, I guess, to hillbilly ability. That would be insane Because until you actually press your basic attack button, you're going to be in stealth. Ghostface has no secondary attack or anything like that. And I don't think you would lose stealth from using a secondary attack, because it's not coded into Ghostface. So I'm trying to think, does throwing a hatchet take Huntress out of the undetectable status? I don't think it does when she uses her perk. I think it's only when you either yeah, I think it's really when you hit. Because, I mean, you can still lean and stalk and all of that with Ghostface, and it doesn't take you out, which is a secondary power. So, yeah, if you go from, like, Ghostface to get that undetectable status to another killer, you're essentially just good as long as you don't press the attack button or do anything crazy that reveals you, aka getting looked at, etc., etc. And you're golden. Unless it ends it, which I guess it'll probably be balanced to end it when you switch back over to another perk. I'm going to assume all effects no longer persist after it switches over. But like I said, like he said, actually, it's going to be a mess incorporating and coding all of that to happen. Maybe sometime in the future. And he said you didn't put too much thought into what kind of killer would come out of the perk. You just kind of threw a bunch of things together. What was in your mind? Which it's appreciated. It does say killer perk idea, gluttony, not killer perk. Or not new killer idea. It's killer perk idea, not killer idea. So, I mean, everything's properly put in. It's all explained, things like that. Unfortunately, final verdict, it's just going to be too complicated, man. And then this, just select whatever add-on you want, and then play. There's no point in leaving it up to RNG. And with that, I went over, what, 2? Yeah, I went over 2. It's been what feels like 3 hours. Even if it hasn't been 3 hours, it feels like it's been like 3 hours. And then play. It's been 2 hours. 2 1/4. Decent amount. I think that is a decent amount of content. And kind of back to the roots of when I started. I go into more detail explaining everything as per what something is, and if the creator does stumble upon it, they can either skim through, get a couple ideas here or there, or they can listen to the entire review and possibly get motivated and get better ideas. I feel a lot better about the particular reviews that I just did as opposed to the ones that I've done previous. So I wasn't really happy when I listened. Well, I didn't listen to the whole thing. I skimmed through, listened to some of the things that I was saying, and I'm like, well, I missed an obvious thing here and there because I'm trying to go too fast. My voice, I was stuttering a lot. I wasn't able to keep up complete sentences. I can tell that I was tired. My brain wasn't working. I wasn't able to bring 2 and 2 together most of the time. And it just caused a lot of problems, and the quality of everything decreased. So I do apologize for anybody that had to go through that. Like I said, I ain't even seen from Galanonim in a while. So, I mean, I hope he's safe with family, having a good time, things of that nature. And he ain't just said, man, Q's changed, and, you know, went on his merry way. I don't blame him. I was putting out subpar content
I mean, I guess it was already subpar before, but it was really bad here coming up. Then, from the lack of sleep, I've been trying to stream earlier. Because right now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am super tired, but I did get a small nap throughout the night. And instead of laying back down, going to sleep, and waking up 5 o'clock in the evening and streaming randomly, I figured I would get this out of the way now when it's round about, 10, 12 o'clock, around the area where I usually stream. And then either right after, which I think is going to be later on now, because I'm starting to get a semi headache, I'll continue the Splinter Cell game. I'll probably do that later on. Because, I mean, gaming. Late nights is usually when people game, things like that. I don't particularly have anybody that I know that's heavily invested in Splinter Cell. It's going to be like, yeah, 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 Splinter Cell, let's go. I really want to see this series or anything like that. Plus, I'm dual streaming to YouTube and Twitch. YouTube side is being archived. I know that 100% sure. So you can just go back and look at the particular stream if you do want to see it at any time. I will save you time though. Splinter Cell streams is 90 to 95% of the time me dying, failing, and complaining about my broken controller, and then 5% succeeding. I do not play the game how it's supposed to be played because I've played all except for what I'm finding out now, the first one, and I'm experiencing it for the first time. I still have the bad habits that have occurred from the other ones where you can move, a lot faster and get things done. I'm used to a little bit more of faster movement. I mean, Pandora tomorrow is going to be an issue. Regardless, it's going to be an issue. Chaos Theory is not going to be that big of an issue because that's the one I've played the most of. I just need to remember my childhood. Double Agent, I'm not going to push that hard to do all of these alternative paths and things like that. I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get the missions done because it's not really my favorite game. I'm not going to go and complete all the challenges and all the other things that the game offers. I'm just going to get the main storyline hammered out. Double Agent's probably going to be the most engaging game for anybody who likes the Splinter Cell games, though, because it's kind of drama packed and things like that. I don't know. I guess I could go back through and explain everything or rewatch the cutscenes. So everybody that's been watching the game, but I mean, it doesn't take but a second to go online and find out the storyline for Splinter Cell. And or just go back through and watch the cutscenes on a YouTube video. I really don't want to spend the time watching cutscenes. I've already seen everything beyond, the first game, so I know how things are already gonna go. But I mean, what I foresee happening is the Splinter Cell 1, because I'm having a lot of issues and things like that. It's going to be like half goofy, half memey, and people that actually, play the game and are looking for a childhood experience and knows the moves and all of that. They are going to be very frustrated. Somebody just turning in or tuning into it's probably going to think the game's kind of brutal, but it's not really that brutal. It's extremely easy. Keep that in mind. I might make the game look harder than it is. It's extremely easy if I really wanted to. I could take the time to learn the keyboard and mouse control so I don't keep making the mistakes of, not scrolling the wheel to walk different speeds, etc., etc. And I could essentially play a perfect game. That's not the experience that I'm looking for, though. I'm not looking for pro play. I'm looking for kind of the pseudo sloppy, let's just go back and have fun with old memories. I'm going to make sure I complete the first game because I want to be able to say that I've completed all the Splinter Cell games, or at least played them, except for the mobile versions, and be able to complete that entire collection of play. However, you mean anything beyond the first one, if I don't necessarily finish the game, I'm not going to be too butthurt about it. This is just kind of a blast to the past. Generally, somebody would just make a video, like one video of each game, and then that would be the end of it. Blast to the past collection. I want to at least go as far as I can, or at least as far as my patience allows me. Because generally, I'd be able to complete the Splinter Cell games. I'm having a blast. I love the Splinter Cell games. The first one has a lot more leniency than Pandora Tomorrow. I will say that much. And when I compare the two from the Splinter or the Pandora Tomorrow that I know, like the original, versus this one I'm looking at on Steam, I don't know if it's an HD edition or something like that, it makes me go, well, what the hell happened? Pandora Tomorrow is not a very well polished game. I did not enjoy the majority of Pandora Tomorrow. That is probably the game that I had the most issues with. Because, Pandora Tomorrow has parts to where it enforces stealth. And unfortunately, this will be Steam. So I'm assuming that the game's different and it's not just a one-to-one copy. But I've had issues where I was on stealth parts and I kept getting spotted. Like in the game I'm playing now, when I was on the other side of that truck, like all the way through, and he was able to see me through things. Just magically. Like issues like that in particular. I would have problems like that in Pandora Tomorrow. The storyline's not very highly captivating until you get farther along. Like in the beginning, it's extremely boring and dull to me. Me personally. You might like it, especially if it's new to you, but it's really dull. And then it picks up towards the end and it actually becomes fun, but it's a slog in the beginning. Chaos Theory, like I said, that's the game I played the most. I have fun playing Chaos Theory. I've beaten that game probably, and I kid you not, up around 100 times. It's like God of War 2. God of War 2, I would beat God of War 2, immediately restart the run and play it through again. And I would do that an entire summer. Back to back to back to back. Same with Chaos Theory. I ran that game ragged. I went and found every route that you could take, things like that. I'm not going to remember half of them, but then, once things become popular and the internet was widely accessible, I went back through, I looked up everything to see what I missed, and looked up ways for that too. I really I don't want to say 100% of the game, but I really took the time to see different methods of getting places. Double Agent. Double Agent, a lot of people liked because of how everything's set up. It pseudo follows like a butterfly effect. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But yeah, it's like a butterfly effect style game. Not like the whatever tells stories. It's not anything like, like that. It's still a Splinter Cell game. It's just the butterfly effect comes into effect. You can tell by the title what it consists of if you use your brain or at least your imagination. Conviction. Anybody who knows the series, that's generally most people's favorites. Conviction. It's very interesting, very different from the series. That's when they started to really reboot things and really go off on a specific way. Double Agent started it. Conviction set it in. And then Blacklist kind of mopped everything up. You will notice in Blacklist that a different person plays Sam Fisher's voice, and his voice completely changes. His demeanor from Conviction to Blacklist changes, and that's just something you gotta kind of deal with. If you're watching me play, it's really not gonna bother you, but anybody that actually knows Splinter Cell, you're gonna be like, well, what the hell is this? Once you get past the fake Sam Fisher and Blacklist in parentheses, it's actually a pretty cool game. There are some cooperative parts and things like that. If anybody does have Blacklist and they tune in, I'll play co-op with you. Just keep in mind I'm bad at the game. I mean, I did play Blacklist through twice and I unlocked everything that you can get, like all the... Actually, I'm not even gonna say. But all the stuff you can get, I unlocked all of that. I've done that twice through. That is the last Splinter Cell game that I played, so it's gonna be the freshest one in my memory. I'm pretty sure I played Blacklist on keyboard and mouse too, now that I think about it. So it goes to show you. And the sad thing is the only difference between Blacklist and the Splinter Cell I'm playing now is the small things that keep killing me. And it's kind of sad. I don't remember using the scroll wheel to adjust how fast I walk in Blacklist. I think you hold like Alt or something like that and adjusts how fast you can go. Or it's set speed. When you run, you're fast. When you crouch, you move a particular speed. It's either like that. I don't remember it incorporating a scroll wheel. It's not even the first game that I've played that the scroll wheel actually interacts with how fast you can go. But that scroll wheel is absolutely destroying me. And I know I could just rewrite it and make movement speed change to another button and make it to where I just press Alt to walk slower and press it again to go fast or something like that. Or I can set it to where crouch always makes me walk a particular speed. You know, things like that. I just don't want to. That's a lot of well, it's not programming. I mean, this would technically be coding. It would be, I don't know. It's a lot of editing that I don't really want to do when it comes to an old game. The scroll wheel throws me off, and the newer Splinter Cell, it's fixed. Jump, like every other game, or just pressing the stick upwards, makes you climb upwards. When you jump, you climb upwards. If you pull back and jump, you jump off of the wall. If you crouch, you hang. If you crouch again, you drop. I don't know what in anybody's mind would they ever incorporate the climb up button being crouch and then the drop button being jump. And I can't change it. There's no way that I know to program, you know, a longer set of commands to make everything do everything separate. Excuse me. Because even if I open this particular folder and I scroll down, when it comes to things like this, you have specific inputs. You have fire, you have move backwards, move forwards, jump, duck, full inventory, and then, you know, all the headsets and things like that, and interaction button. When it comes to things like this, you have fire, alternate fire, interaction, jump, pause, full interaction, etc., etc. You have duck, D-pad left, right, quick save, shot. Looking throughout all of this, keep in mind that nowhere here does it say to drop or climb or anything like that. Nowhere. You go all the way down from top to bottom. Which means that particular command is already been keybinded into a particular action. They're not separate. So the jump button is always going to be incorporated to the same button that makes you drop. Jump and drop, you can't separate them. Now, if I knew whatever engine this ran on, I could open up the game in that particular engine, and then I could go in and change it. But other than this, like, there's nothing. It's fires, move forwards, jump, you can duck, full inventory, all of that, but nothing here particularly says drop from ledge. So if I could just open that and change that, that would completely nullify those issues. Another common issue I run into is, well, my controller likes to move on its own, and also it doesn't have the dynamic movement. If I'm hanging on a pipe and I'm near a ledge, the game expects you to hold right and then drop, and you'll land in a particular spot. Which is fine when your controller doesn't walk on its own. You just hold to the right, you drop, your character lands there, and then you continue to move on. Well, because it doesn't have the dynamic movement like Assassin's Creed or the other Splinter Cells in the future have, to where I can just hold right and he automatically does that transition for me, I have to hold right, try to put it in a way to where, you know, it's balanced and isn't going to pull a particular way, and then drop, and then hope for my life that it's actually going to drop into the correct spot and not pull backwards and then completely miss ledge. So, I mean, there be lots of issues. Lots and lots of issues. Hello, Galanonim. Oh, you start your internship tomorrow. Let's go. To combine it with school, maybe I will play Dead by Daylight after 2 months. Oh my. I have to check a few things before tomorrow, so see you for today. Congratulations, man. I'm rooting for you. Do your best, man. Nah, I mean, it's nice to stop by every once in a while. Just pop in, you know, whenever you can. Say hi, what's up. You don't have to stop by every day. I don't expect it. I mean, I know you're busy, things like that. But yeah, I'm glad to see you. Glad you stopped by as always. Keep it up. Heck yeah. Whew. Internships. Well, I guess depending on where you're going, it can be a big commitment. Some people, it makes or breaks their job. Other people, they go to an internship, they figure out the career that they're going to, or at least that particular company, is a joke, and they end up going on their own way and trying something else. But regardless of what happens, don't let somebody else and their incompetence affect your goals. As Nix once said on Persona 3, attaining one's dream requires a stern will and unfailing determination. Keep it up, man. Happy for you. Really am. Let's see. Back to this. I really don't. But it says engine. EPC. No, that's not Epic. It's just graphic controls. Let me take time. What engine did Splinter Cell 1 run off of? They're probably encrypted. It's Unreal Engine 2. I was gonna say, if it runs off Unreal Engine, I might be able to do something about it. But I'm pretty sure I literally just deleted Unreal Engine off of my system yesterday. Yeah. I literally deleted Unreal Engine off of my system yesterday to make space because I was running low. Is Unreal Engine 2 and UDK compatible? Probably not. Unreal Engine is not available as of now. Yeah. Because I know Unreal Engine 3 is not compatible with 4, but 4 and 5 are. I doubt that UDK and 2 is, or 3 and 2 is. And I don't even know if you can still get Unreal Engine 2. You can get 3. Even though you kind of have to search for it, you can get that. 4 is widely available. You can just get it through Epic. Yeah, none of these are Unreal Engine 2. How do you download Unreal Engine 2? Install the latest version of Unreal Engine, which is 4. UDK was made in Unreal Engine 3. If you want Unreal Engine 2 2.5, you can probably only do it modding Unreal Tournament. Gotcha. This does not, unfortunately. Whoops. I'll do that later. Unfortunately, that doesn't help me with Splinter Cell. How do I... There's no point. It's almost 3 hours. It don't help me with Splinter Cell controls, and I do not know the commands themselves to separate everything, because it's hard-coded into the game's engine itself, and not to that particular notepad. So even if I was to find the particular commands, and I was to try to hard code them onto something else, it would not work because the engine says otherwise. It says when you jump, and if you're holding something and you jump, you let go. That is how that is coded. That is absolute and cannot be changed unless you can actually access the game engine itself. There might be some other program that could particularly read the game files for Splinter Cell, but I am unaware of that as of now, and I'm not going to do any type of deep searching just to be able to rebind those particular keys. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm going to die a whole lot more. Then when I go to the next Splinter Cell, I'm going to be pressing the wrong buttons again because they probably swap. And I'm going to die a whole lot more. Because it's already semi-difficult, because I played all the other Splinter Cells on PlayStation. I'm using the Xbox controller. But I mean in my mind, when I'm pressing Y, I'm pressing triangle and, you know, square and everything like that. I just kind of convert that over mentally. So I mean, I might be using Xbox controller, but I'm playing still on PlayStation in my mind. The auto zoom in, I don't think I can change the auto zoom in either. I know it's kind of niche that I'm using a Dead by Daylight stream to talk about Splinter Cell, but I mean, I'm kind of half advertising here. I'm going to be playing Splinter Cell later on, and I hope people actually drop by, either here on Twitch, the underscore QTASTIC on Twitch, and then just the space QTASTIC on YouTube, which if you're here, you know. If you don't know, now you know. Can I change the zoom? Honestly, I'm alright with not even being able to zoom at all. I mean, I can always use mouse. We do not want the zoomies. Also, if you look here, the only thing mouse wheel up and mouse wheel down does per this pad is decrease speed and increase speed. It says nothing about the zoom that the game itself has. Yeah. If anybody knows how to fix this zooming issue, please feel free to let me know. And unfortunately, the anti-micro program, it allows me, this program itself, for anybody wondering, I think I already explained this, but I'll explain it again. This allows me to map particular controller buttons to mouse keys. For instance, left trigger is the same as me pressing mouse right button, or the button on the mouse, the right button Right click. There you go. Mouse right button or right click. Right trigger is the same as pressing mouse left button or left click. If I click on names, yeah, it's already up in names. A is the action button, X is reload, blah 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 blah. I take those off. A is hooked to the enter key, X is hidden to the R key, which is reload. Back is F8, start is hooked to escape. Right stick click is hooked to E and set change to. Right shoulder's control, Y is shift. F5. I didn't name right, but guide. That should just be quick save. Oh no, the guide button is the left button. That should be quick load. Nor is the guide button the Xbox button. Yeah, the guide button, F5 is quick save. That set guide button is the Xbox button. It just for whatever reason says guide, because that's probably what they told me to map it to. Gotcha. Home button, or select button, but a home button on Xbox controller is the select. Start is start, obvious. Guide is the Xbox button. Gotcha. What is this set change 3? Left shoulder button. Right shoulder button. It's obviously RB or right bumper. Left shoulder button's left bumper. I have yet to use left bumper. I don't know what set changed. Oh. Set change 3. It puts it on this. That is why this keeps changing. It's supposed to be crocheting mode and aim zoom. But its current set to set change 3, hold 0.10 seconds. I don't know what left button is equal to on the keyboard. So I need to fix this next time I go, or before I go live. This is why the auto zoom keeps happening. I guarantee you this is supposed to be set to the hold zoom key, whatever button that is. And it's not. So that's how I fix the zoom issue. When I'm clicking the button, it's set to the toggle. So anytime I pull out my thing, it's already set to, it's set to go. As soon as I pull out my weapon, it's set to go. So anytime I move, it activates that. Because it's set to go. Right stick click. I'm going to have to go back in and find out whatever button that is. And I'm going to have to redo that. Both are aims. Could be the right stick that's doing it. It's either the right stick, aim mode toggle, just... I cannot think. Aim mode toggle sets your scope, whether it's the near scope or the far scope. Then left mouse button, you hold the aim to zoom in or zoom back out. Or is this the button to switch gadgets? and that's just the button to zoom in and out. I don't know. Regardless, I need to open up the game and find out where these two buttons are specifically located at, and I need to rebind these. So right now, it's just currently set the E, and it's set change 2, and I don't want it to be set change 2. So what I think I need to do is click none. Yeah. If I click none and I clear this, which I'm not going to do it now. Could also just I see. If I delete that, oh, that just adds in. Gotcha. Delete that. Delete that. Whatever the E key does, that is now only E key. Go here, go advanced. Set change 3 needs to be gotten rid of. The hold 0.10 needs to stay. This needs to be changed to whatever. Also, I hope by changing that it doesn't actually change my left mouse button trigger. No, it does not. I'm assuming that it was put onto the H key then. It's in parentheses H. I mean, oh, because it says hold with the parentheses around it. That's what that means. Change shoulder button. This is supposed to be left mouse button. I don't know what button that would be. Is it left bumper? I mean, I know it's left bumper. It's left stick click. Now I gotta think of what it is on the keyboard. On the keyboard. I don't know. I'm gonna delete that for now and leave it empty. So that fixes that issue. The E key is how you zoom in. Yeah. The E key is how you toggle aim mode. So now it shouldn't automatically toggle. I need to figure out what control aim and zooms per game, and then go back in and change it. And might as well do it now. Anyways, I'm not going to do all of this on stream. I'm just kind of BSing at this point, just to try to add a little bit of extra time. I get it around 3 hours. At this point, I'm just stalling and not putting out content anymore. So I do appreciate anybody stopping by. Galanonim, as always. And anybody else that happens to find things. I'm going to try to get on later on today. If I don't pass out and sleep till... If I wake up before 10 p.m., I'll be back. If not, I'm going to postpone the Splinter Cell stream till tomorrow. I already did like 2 or 3 streams, so I mean, I have a technical backlog of a couple of hours already content available on YouTube. So if I miss a day, I'm not behind. I can actually miss 2 days, and I won't be behind. So everything's fine. So as again, appreciate everybody stopping by. Love to chat to people. Love to see new comments, any type of discussions, anything like that. Shoo. All of that noise. It's going to be a long day for me, people. It's going to be a long day. Thanks for stopping by. And remember,